and welcome. I'm Jeremy Olivier, and here's what happened this week. Taipei's district court has ruled that former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je can continue to be detained in connection with the corruption investigation. Reese Ayers was at the court when the announcement was made.
Ko Wen-je can be detained for a further 2 months. That's the decision out of Taipei's district court in Taiwan's biggest political scandal this year. Ko is still technically the leader of Taiwan's third party, Taiwan People's Party, and he ran for president earlier this year. He's been held incommunicado since early September, meaning he can't speak to anyone over fears that he could collude with other defendants during the investigation. His detainment hasn't been without opposition, though. Some of Ko's supporters claiming the case against him is politically motivated. This afternoon, some protesters braving the typhoon debris to protest his continued detention, claiming he's already been held far too long despite no direct evidence against him.
柯文哲主席被就是在司法不公的状况之下被我们的北检所控告，然后现在他已经羁押2个月了，到现在他都还没有查到他不法金流。
台湾的人权这样子叫做衰败下去，就民进党政府这样搞是不好。
The court initially detained Ko after ruling that he clearly knew about illegal real estate deals involving a shopping mall made during his second term as Taipei mayor. The question is, how much did Ko really know about it? A lot of people close to Ko are already deeply involved in the case. One former real estate developer has already pleaded guilty, and Ko's personal secretary, Xu Ziyu, who has already been in Japan for several weeks, is reportedly still abroad, despite calls for her to return, leading some to speculate that she's deliberately avoiding questioning. Ko Wen-je himself has already faced 4 or 5 rounds of questioning. But for now, Ko is facing 2 more months in detention as this investigation continues. Easton Pan, Leon Lian and Reese Ayers in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A human rights group is calling attention to migrant fishers forced to stay aboard their boats during typhoons. A video taken by migrant fishers during Typhoon Kraton in October showed boats in harbor rocked by large waves and strong winds. One ship's hull had broken in half. The Taiwan Association for Human Rights says it's common for boat owners to require migrant crew members to stay aboard boats in harbor to help protect the vessels during a storm. The association says more should be done to ensure the safety of the fishers instead. Taiwan's fisheries agency says the decision to evacuate boats in a storm is up to each local government. Photos of Taiwanese military personnel training to use the HIMARS rocket artillery system at a US Army base have stirred concerns about information security. The photos were shared on Facebook back in August and caught the attention of Chinese netizens. They show Taiwanese troops training with US soldiers on the advanced mobile rocket system. In some photos, their faces and name patches are clearly visible. Defense Minister Wellington Koo has responded to the concerns.
购买海马斯本来就是一个公开的资讯嘛，所以它相关揭露的这些姓名，因为是属于这一个一般性的训练，没有揭露其他进一步个人的个资，我想还好。不过我们还是会向美方反映。
Taiwan has purchased 29 HIMARS systems and expects deliveries to be completed by the end of 2026. China says a second Donald Trump presidency could see the US cast aside Taiwan, following comments the Republican candidate recently made about the country.
美国究竟是在想要保台还是害台？相信大部分的台湾同胞已经做出了理智的判断，非常清楚的知道，美国奉行的永远是美国优先，台湾是随时可能从棋子变成弃子。
Earlier this week, Trump falsely stated that Taiwan stole the US semiconductor industry. He has also said that Taiwan should pay the US more for defense assistance. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council declined to comment on China's response to Trump. Taiwanese computer maker ASUS has debuted its new line of Mini-PCs with a focus on artificial intelligence, 1 year after taking over the product line from US chipmaker Intel. As Chris Gorin reports, these small computers point to big changes in the tech industry.
Taiwanese computer maker ASUS has just debuted its newest line of mini-PCs known as NUC or NUCs, which stands for the next unit of computing. But they didn't always make them. Until last year, they were produced by US company Intel, known primarily for its chip-making business. But now, these Mini-PCs have become a growth engine for their Taiwanese partner.
We believe the Mini-PC form factor will be the major, I would say, the main form factors in the future IoT space and also in the commercial space. I think it gives us some big opportunity to grow. The first thing is because of the AI.
And like much of the modern tech economy, for computer makers, AI is big business. This formerly American-made product line is part of a trend to try and bring AI functionality to everyday devices. And it's a trend that's only expected to grow. In fact, it's expected that within 4 years, 70% of all new PCs will have AI functionality right on the device, with less need for cloud-based AI services. And industry insiders say that can be important when protecting your data is key.
You have healthcare applications, you have industrial applications for security, surveillance, monitoring, and most of these applications, they are very data sensitive. You would rather not send data to the cloud. Having an advanced AI capable hardware sitting right next to you, which is capable of doing all the AI processing, is going to be a game changer.
ASUS's success with the NUC line stands in contrast to its former producer, Intel. The Arizona-based company has struggled in the past several years to keep pace with its competitors, and investors have noticed. Intel's stock has fallen by more than 60% in the last year, reaching its lowest price in a decade, at one point dropping 26% in a single day. Licensing its NUC product line is just one of several drastic moves Intel has made to shore up its profitability and focus more directly on designing and making chips, as it seeks to compete with rivals like TSMC and AMD. It's cutting its staff and has split its chip-making foundry business into a separate subsidiary. It's even been the target of buyout offers from other hardware companies and private equity firms. The focus on a chips-first strategy may represent US national priorities as well.
And we all understand that Taiwan is a geopolitical strategic partner of US. So companies like Intel, they are okay with having Taiwanese companies acquire their businesses as long as these businesses do not interfere with their capabilities of defense and space applications.
With the premiere of this new series, these mini AI PCs show how big changes in the worlds of technology and geopolitics can all fit inside a very small package. Chris Ma and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Women's rights groups are speaking out against a government plan to increase fines for what Taiwan considers illegal abortions. A new proposal from the Justice Ministry would see women fined $2,500 US for breaking the abortion law. That's more than 20 times the current fine. Abortion is illegal after the 24th week of pregnancy in most cases in Taiwan. Women's groups have hit back at the proposal, saying it infringes on women's bodily autonomy. They've started to petition to decriminalize abortion in Taiwan. Taiwan's Environment Ministry wants eateries to use less packaging with their food delivery orders. Those in the industry say this can be hard in practice, but as John Van Trieste reports, some are still trying to get started.
Taiwan loves food delivery. A 2023 survey by think tank Market Intelligence and Consulting Institute found 71% of the population uses delivery apps. But there's a cost to the convenience, more waste for the country's already overwhelmed landfills. The Environment Ministry wants to change things. On Tuesday, Environment Minister Peng Qiming hosted a roundtable with industry reps to discuss cutting back on packaging.
以餐饮外送已经变成国人的这个习惯了，我们希望把它变成绿化一点点，更环保一点点。那未来呢，它也会是我们这个绿色采购的一环。
Those in the food delivery business say there are high practical hurdles, however.
汤汁都漏出来了，完了客人不要了，我就自己吸收了。毕竟我们是外送，所以我们会倾向是说，它袋子再加盒子这样包。
环保餐具外送，那你这样不就变成要多一个步骤？你的餐具要先送来店家，
这难度蛮高的。
所以尽量可以的话，就是出来吃嘛，出来内用。
But the ministry says the practice won't be mandatory. It says it will encourage simple steps to begin with, like sending out reusable cups in place of the throwaway paper cups in common use now.
先用这个饮料杯，就是比较属于单纯的一个项目，先来推动，就可以来这个避免一个先期推动时候一个问题。
In other words, the idea of Tuesday's roundtable wasn't to solve the packaging problem in one go, but to open a conversation about how to start addressing it. And despite the difficulties, some eateries have already been trying for some time. NGO Rethink is one group that's helping them to do it. It's worked with one of the big two delivery services to encourage shops to cut back on everything from food waste to packaging.
也透过让这些店家的环保作为把被收集变成 Foodpanda 的一个专区，所以它有更多的曝光，因而可能也会有对店家来说有更多的订单。这个订单也会让店家觉得说，环保好像是一个做起来还可以增加营收的事情，所以也会让大家有一些动机。所以最后也把这个制度推出来，大概在2021年的时候一路走到今天。
This group agrees that eliminating waste completely is a tough task. Containers need to be spill and leak-proof. But it says simple things like cutting back on non-recyclables like plastic wrap, foil, and rubber bands is one starting point. Already, it says its program cuts 160,000 tons of trash per year. And while this is still more of a showcase than a sweeping program, there's promise in taking the trash out of Taiwan's food delivery industry. Eason Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
2 decades after his last performance in Taipei, Grammy Award-winning musician Wynton Marsalis has returned to Taiwan with the world-renowned Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. While here, they're meeting with young musicians and performing an eclectic range of jazz subgenres for the country's music lovers. Wesley Lewis reports.
Performing Dixieland, Duke Ellington, bebop, and everything in between, the world-class Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra is in Taiwan. On their week-long visit, the New York City-based band is scheduled to swing by Taipei and Taichung. Leading the ensemble is Grammy Award-winning trumpeter and composer Wynton Marsalis, one of modern jazz's leading figures. Ahead of their opening performance, the group held a welcome event where music students were invited to pick the performers' brains. There, Marsalis imparted some wisdom to aspiring musicians.
First, play. Really learn how to play. Develop your feeling. So when people come to hear you and your music, it makes them feel a certain way. Then they tell their friends, oh, you got to go hear so-and-so. Check this out. Then other things come later, like publicity and posting things or putting out recordings and all of this. People get excited about that, but do the quality first.
Born in New Orleans into a family of prominent jazz musicians, Marsalis has spent his career dedicated to promoting the genre. He helped start Jazz at Lincoln Center over 3 decades ago and has performed and given lectures around the world. The last time the orchestra came to Taiwan was in 2002, where they gave one performance at the National Music Hall in Taipei.
I was fortunate to be here 22 years ago also. When we came, that was my second year in the orchestra, 22 years ago, and had such fond memories of Taiwan and being here. And so it's an absolute pleasure for us to be here. And we just remember how warmly we were received back then. And it's the same thing that's happening right now.
Now back at the same venue over 2 decades later, Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra are once more inviting audiences in Taiwan to fall in love with the electrifying rhythms in their arrangements, continuing their mission to spread jazz to a global audience. Fu Huahong, Kama Shu, and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at some of the vibrant scenes from Taipei's Pride festivities, which took place last weekend. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next week.